scientists are where we're going to begin.
Nous allons commencer par ces deux scientifiques,
William Broad and Marilyn Schlitz.
William Broad et Marilyn Schlitz.
They studied in 1983 something they called remote influencing.
Ils ont étudié en 1983 quelque chose qu'ils ont appelé l'influence à distance.
And what they found was that if someone was nervous,
Et ce dont ils se sont aperçus, c'est que si quelqu'un était nerveux,
they could make that person calm down
il pouvait arriver à ce que cette personne se calme
just by sending them energy.
simplement en envoyant de l'énergie à cette personne.
Well, that's exactly what Lynn McTaggart was just talking about,
Et c'est exactement ce dont Lynn McTaggart vient de vous parler.
where groups of people meditate
Là où des groupes de personnes méditent,
and everyone in the world gets calmer.
partout dans le monde, les gens peuvent être plus calmes.
They also found
Ils ont également découvert
that they could make people think better.
qu'ils pouvaient amener les gens à penser mieux.
Let's say they give you a test,
Disons par exemple quand vous faites passer un examen, un test,
and then they see how well you can concentrate.
et ensuite ils voient à quel point vous êtes capable de bien vous concentrer.
You don't know that they're trying to help you,
Vous ne savez pas qu'ils sont en train d'essayer de vous aider,
but they're in another room
mais eux, ils sont dans une autre pièce
and they concentrate for you.
et ils se concentrent pour vous.
They do the thinking for you.
Ils font le mécanisme de la pensée pour vous.
And then your mind works better.
Et ensuite, c'est votre esprit à vous qui fonctionne mieux.
This is a scientific fact.
Ça, c'est...
Now I want to talk about this consciousness
Maintenant, je voudrais parler de cette conscience
as it applies to biology.
lorsque ça s'applique à la biologie.
Specifically, I want to say that life is written into the laws of quantum physics.
Je voudrais dire surtout précisément que la vie est inscrite dans la physique quantique. La vie est un phénomène émergent de la physique quantique.
The basic laws that make atoms spin around,
Les lois fondamentales qui font que les atomes tourbillonnent,
the same energy,
la même énergie,
will also create the DNA molecule.
c'était la même énergie qui va également créer la molécule.
The DNA molecule begins as an energy pattern.
La molécule de l'ADN commence comme un schéma d'énergie,
And I can prove that.
et je peux le prouver.
The first way we're going to prove that is what's called the DNA phantom effect.
Le premier moyen, la première façon par laquelle on va prouver ça, c'est à travers ce qu'on appelle l'effet de l'ADN fantôme.
And this and almost everything I'm talking about is in my new book.
Et ceci, pratiquement tout ce que je vais vous dire, tout ce dont je vous parle est dans mon nouveau livre.
What they did, it started in 1984 with Gariev and Poponin.
Ce qu'ils ont fait, ça a commencé en 1984 avec Gariev et Poponin.
These were Russian scientists.
C'était des scientifiques russes.
They took a little piece of quartz and they put a DNA molecule inside.
Ils ont pris un petit morceau de quartz et ils ont mis une molécule d'ADN à l'intérieur.
What they did then is they hit it with a laser beam.
Ce qu'ils ont fait ensuite, c'est qu'ils l'ont cogné avec un rayon laser.
First of all, if you don't put DNA in the container,
Tout d'abord, si vous ne mettez pas d'ADN dans ce contenant,
then the light just goes all over the room.
eh ben, la lumière va simplement traverser et se répandre partout dans la pièce.
What do you think happened when they put DNA in the container?
À votre avis, que s'est-il produit quand ils ont mis de l'ADN dans ce contenant?
What happened to the light coming into the room?
Qu'est-ce qui est arrivé à la lumière quand elle s'est répandue dans la pièce?
And if something strange happened to the light,
Et s'il est arrivé quelque chose d'étrange à cette lumière,
do we have any laws of physics right now that could explain that?
est-ce que nous avons à l'heure actuelle des lois physiques, des lois de la physique qui peuvent expliquer ça?
We would have to go digging because we don't.
Il faudrait qu'on aille vraiment chercher parce que nous n'avons pas de loi physique qui explique ça.
Something did happen to the light.
Il est vraiment arrivé quelque chose à cette lumière.
The DNA acted like a black hole.
L'ADN a agi comme un trou noir.
And that means that all the light, every single photon,
Et ça veut dire que toute la lumière, chaque photon
was drawn into the DNA molecule.
a été aspiré à l'intérieur de la molécule d'ADN.
Electromagnetic energy cannot do that.
L'énergie électromagnétique ne peut pas faire ça.
What's the only force that we know about in the universe that could do that?
Quelle est la seule force que nous connaissons à l'heure actuelle dans l'univers qui pourrait faire ça?
What is a black hole?
Qu'est-ce que c'est qu'un trou noir?
It's a gravity vortex.
C'est un vortex de gravité.
So ultimately, I believe that this is caused by gravity.
Donc finalement, au bout du compte, je crois que ceci est provoqué par la gravité.
And I believe that our current knowledge of gravity is very, very weak.
Et je crois que la connaissance que nous avons à l'heure actuelle de ce qu'est la gravité, c'est très très pauvre.
And I could talk about that alone for 2 hours.
Et je pourrais parler pendant au moins 2 heures rien que de ce sujet-là.
Every photon in the entire room goes into the DNA molecule.
Tous les photons qui sont dans la pièce tout entière se retrouvent aspirés à l'intérieur de ce morceau d'ADN.
That means that if each of you in the room right now
Ceci veut dire que si chacun de vous dans cette salle, là maintenant,
was a DNA molecule,
et si vous étiez une molécule d'ADN,
then the whole rest of the room would be dark,
le reste de la salle tout entier deviendrait noir.
and all the light would be going into you.
Et que toute la lumière partirait en vous.
At the quantum level, that's what happens.
Au niveau quantique, c'est ça qui se produit.
On the top here, you see what happens when there's no DNA in the room.
Là, dans le graphique d'en haut, vous voyez ce qui se produit quand il n'y a pas d'ADN dans la salle, dans la pièce.
Each dot is a photon.
Chaque point représente un photon.
On the bottom
En
is
bas.
the DNA.
En bas, c'est quand il y a de l'ADN.
There isn't one dot outside the DNA molecule.
Et il n'y a pas un seul point à l'extérieur de cette molécule d'ADN.
Are you thinking what I'm thinking right now?
Est-ce que vous pensez la même chose que moi maintenant?
Do you think DNA would be doing this for no reason?
Est-ce que vous pensez que l'ADN ferait ça sans aucune raison?
Obviously, something very important is happening here.
De toute
All right. So this is a diagram of the experiment.
Alors, ceci est un graphique, un diagramme de cette expérience.
At the top
En
is
haut.
where the DNA would go.
En haut, c'est là qu'irait l'ADN.
The laser put the light inside.
Le laser envoie la lumière à l'intérieur.
Then the photomultiplier tube counted the photons,
Et puis, il y a un multiplicateur de photons qui va compter les photons.
and it went into the computer.
Et puis, ça rentre dans l'ordinateur.
This brings us to Dr. Fritz Albert Popp,
Et ceci nous amène au docteur Fritz Albert Popp.
and he is an absolutely genius level scientist,
Et c'est un scientifique du niveau du génie,
but hardly anyone's ever heard about him.
mais pratiquement personne n'a jamais entendu parler de lui.
And there's a reason for that.
Et il y a une raison pour ça.
What's the only business on earth
Quel est le seul business sur Terre
that makes more money than oil?
qui rapporte plus d'argent que le pétrole?
Pharmaceuticals.
L'industrie pharmaceutique.
If you get well, then there's no money to be made.
Si vous allez bien, il n'y a pas moyen de gagner d'argent.
Fritz Albert Popp wanted you to get well.
Fritz Albert Popp, lui, il voulait que vous alliez bien.
He did not want you to get cancer.
Il ne voulait pas que vous ayez des cancers.
How do you cure cancer?
Comment est-ce qu'on guérit le cancer?
What he decided to do
Ce qu'il a décidé de faire,
was study the things that cause cancer.
c'était d'étudier les choses qui provoquent le cancer.
He wanted to find if there was any connection between them.
Il voulait découvrir s'il y avait des connexions entre tout ça.
So he studied their chemical properties.
Donc il a étudié les propriétés chimiques.
He studied how high they would burn, what temperature.
Il a étudié à quelle température est-ce qu'elles brûleraient, you mean the cancer cells?
Whether they're an acid, whether they're a base.
Je pense que c'est les cellules cancéreuses, si elles étaient acides, si elles étaient basiques,
And
alcalines.
this was the holy grail of all cancer research.
Et c'était vraiment le saint graal de toute la recherche sur le cancer.
Why does this chemical cause cancer?
Pourquoi est-ce que ce produit chimique provoque le cancer?
he never succeeded until he studied the optical properties of the chemicals.
Il n'a jamais réussi à trouver quelque chose jusqu'à ce qu'il étudie les propriétés optiques de ces produits chimiques.
And what he found
Et ce qu'il a
is
découvert
very interesting.
est très intéressant.
When he shined ultraviolet light
Quand il a fait briller de la lumière ultraviolet, quand il a envoyé de la lumière ultraviolet
into these chemicals
dans ces produits chimiques,
at a certain wavelength,
à une certaine onde, longueur d'onde,
the chemicals changed the wavelength of light.
les produits chimiques ont changé la longueur d'onde de la lumière.
They scrambled the light.
Elles ont brouillé la lumière. Ces produits chimiques ont brouillé la lumière.
The exact frequency that they scrambled
La fréquence exacte à laquelle ça se brouille,
was 380 nanometers.
c'était à 380 nanomètres.
What does this mean?
Qu'est-ce que ça veut dire?
Well, he didn't know.
Il ne le savait pas.
And science still doesn't talk about this today,
Et la science ne nous parle toujours pas de ça aujourd'hui.
even though he discovered this in the early 1970s.
Et même s'il a découvert ça au début des années 70.
What was I just saying that DNA does when you put it in that little room?
Qu'est-ce que je disais que fait l'ADN quand on la met dans cette petite pièce, dans cette petite chambre?
DNA is absorbing light.
L'ADN absorbe la lumière.
What I didn't tell you before
Mais ce que je ne vous avais pas dit avant,
was that DNA is absorbing ultraviolet light,
c'est qu'en fait l'ADN absorbe la lumière ultraviolette.
and it likes 380 nanometer light the most.
Et celle qu'il préfère, c'est la lumière à 380 nanomètres.
Now it starts to make sense.
Là, ça commence à prendre sens.
So what is cancer exactly?
Alors, qu'est-ce que c'est exactement que le cancer?
I propose
Ce que je propose,
that the light is being used to control the activity in the cell.
c'est que la lumière est utilisée pour contrôler l'activité dans la cellule.
You know what cancer is.
Vous savez ce que c'est que le cancer?
Cancer is what happens when a cell doesn't know when to stop growing.
Le cancer, c'est ce qui se produit quand une cellule ne sait pas quand il faut qu'elle s'arrête de grandir.
It never gets the signal to stop growing.
Elle ne reçoit jamais le signal qui lui dit d'arrêter de grandir. Ou de
In
pousser.
conventional biology,
En biologie conventionnelle,
that signal
ce signal
is caused by messenger RNA.
est provoqué par ce qu'on appelle l'ARN messager.
But what if light actually sends out the signal?
Mais si c'était la lumière qui en fait envoyait le signal,
A cancer-causing chemical
un produit chimique qui provoque le cancer
stops that light from getting into your DNA.
arrête la lumière et l'empêche d'entrer dans votre ADN.
And your DNA can't tell the cell to stop reproducing
Et
anymore.
du coup, votre ADN ne peut plus dire à la cellule quand elle doit arrêter de se reproduire.
That explains cancer right there.
Et c'est ça qui explique le cancer.
It's extremely simple.
C'est extrêmement simple.
He also did something very interesting to DNA.
Il a fait aussi quelque chose de très intéressant à l'ADN.
He developed a machine that could count one photon at a time.
Il a élaboré une machine qui peut compter un photon à la fois.
And then he killed the DNA.
Ensuite, il a tué l'ADN.
There's a chemical that makes it break open.
Il y a un produit chimique qui brise complètement l'ADN.
As soon as a normal DNA molecule breaks open,
Dès qu'une molécule simple d'ADN se brise et se rompt, s'ouvre,
1,000 different photons come out.
il y a un millier de photons différents qui en sortent.
And you have trillions of DNA molecules in your body.
Et vous avez des millions de milliards de molécules d'ADN dans votre corps.
So there is an incredible amount of light in your body right now.
Des trillions. Donc il y a une quantité de lumière incroyable dans votre corps à l'instant même, à l'heure actuelle.
He also found
Il a découvert également
that when a part of your body is sick,
que quand une partie de votre corps est malade,
your DNA no longer has light in it.
votre ADN n'a plus de lumière dedans.
That's interesting.
Ça c'est intéressant.
What that means is
Ce que ça signifie, c'est
that the light appears to be the most important thing
que la lumière semble être la chose la plus importante
for your health.
pour votre santé.
If you don't have the light,
Si vous n'avez pas la lumière,
you don't have health.
vous n'avez pas de santé.
So maybe some ways that you get light
Donc, il y a peut-être certains moyens par lesquels vous avez de la
would be
lumière.
through eating,
Vous allez obtenir de la lumière à travers
Drinking water.
la nourriture, boire de l'eau,
breathing,
respirer,
going outside in the sun.
sortir au soleil.
But is it possible
Mais est-il possible
that your consciousness
que votre conscience
could control how much light is in your body?
puisse contrôler à combien de lumière il y a dans votre corps?
Absolutely.
Absolument.
So the DNA molecule itself
Donc la molécule d'ADN elle-même,
is like a fiber optic cable.
et c'est comme un câble de fibre optique, en fibre optique.
Now let's go back to the DNA phantom effect.
Alors revenons à notre effet de l'ADN fantôme. Ou l'effet
We
fantôme.
know that the DNA absorbs all the photons in the room.
Nous savons donc que l'ADN absorbe tous les photons dans la pièce.
Well, Gariev finished the experiment
Donc Gariev a terminé l'expérience
and he took the DNA out of the room,
et il a sorti l'ADN de la pièce,
but he didn't turn off the scope.
mais il n'a pas éteint la machine.
What he found was that the light continued to spiral where the DNA was before.
Et ce qu'il a découvert, c'est que la lumière continuait à tourner en spirale là où se trouvait l'ADN avant.
That's very, very interesting
Et ça, c'est très, très intéressant.
because there's no DNA there anymore.
Puisqu'il n'y a plus d'ADN là sur place,
There was a phantom of the DNA where it had been.
donc il restait une trace fantôme de l'ADN à l'endroit où l'ADN s'était trouvé au départ.
Obviously, every cell in your body
De toute évidence, chaque cellule dans votre corps
has DNA in it.
contient de l'ADN.
10 minutes ago, I was standing over there.
Il y a 10 minutes, j'étais debout là-bas.
So some of my DNA is still there.
Donc il y a un peu de mon ADN qui est toujours là-bas.
Some of my DNA is still absorbing light over there.
Donc il y a un peu de mon ADN qui est toujours en train d'absorber de la lumière là-bas.
You are sitting in these chairs right now.
Vous, vous êtes assis dans ces sièges-là maintenant,
But tonight, you're going to leave,
mais ce soir vous allez partir.
I hope.
Enfin, on espère.
Maybe somebody's going to try to hide under the stage or
Peut-être
something.
qu'il y en a certains qui vont essayer de se cacher sous la scène, mais bon.
But after you leave,
Mais une fois que vous serez parti,
if you had very, very sensitive equipment
si on avait un équipement extrêmement sensible, hein,
and you could make this room extremely dark,
et si on pouvait faire en sorte que cette pièce soit extrêmement obscure, hein,
you would actually see ghosts of everyone here.
on pourrait en fait voir des fantômes de chaque personne qui est ici maintenant.
And the longer you sit in one position,
Et plus longtemps vous restez dans une
the
position,
brighter the ghost is going to be.
plus le fantôme va être lumineux.
So if some of you have been going to the bathroom all the time,
Donc s'il y en a parmi vous qui allez aux toilettes toutes les
your
5
ghost
minutes,
isn't going to look as good. I'm sorry.
que vous sortez de la salle souvent, votre fantôme ne sera pas aussi fort.
Now, let's ask the next question.
Donc maintenant, on va poser la question suivante.
How long did this last?
Combien de temps est-ce que ça a duré?
The way that he asked this question
La façon dont il a posé la question,
was by trying to kill the phantom.
ça a été en essayant de tuer le fantôme.
He blasted the phantom with very cold air
Donc il a projeté sur le fantôme, il a aspergé d'un air très froid
from liquid nitrogen.
à partir de nitrogène liquide.
When he did this,
Quand il a fait ça,
the phantom did disappear.
effectivement, le fantôme a disparu.
All those photons escaped.
Tous ces photons se sont enfuis.
But check this out.
Mais écoutez bien,
5 to 8 minutes later,
5 à 8 minutes plus tard,
the phantom came back.
les fantômes sont revenus.
New photons were captured.
De nouveaux photons ont pris naissance.
How long do you think this lasted for?
À votre avis, combien de temps est-ce que ça a duré?
How long do you think he was able to do this for?
Pendant combien de temps est-ce que vous pensez qu'il a pu faire ça?
2 hours?
2 heures?
That's a long time.
C'est long, hein?
A day?
Une journée?
A week?
Une semaine?
2 weeks?
2 semaines?
Believe it or not, it lasted for 30 days.
Croyez-moi ou pas, mais en tout cas, ça a duré 32 jours.
And remember,
30 jours, pardon.
there's nothing more complicated about this
Et rappelez-vous, il n'y a rien de compliqué à ce sujet.
than you sitting in that chair right now.
Ça n'est pas plus compliqué que le fait que vous soyez assis dans votre siège là maintenant.
That means the ghost of this audience
Ça veut dire que le fantôme de ce public
would be measurable
serait mesurable
in this room for 30 days.
dans cette pièce pendant 30 jours.
If you could get it really dark
Si on pouvait arriver à ce que la
and you
pièce
had
soit
really sensitive equipment,
vraiment très obscure en ayant un équipement extrêmement sensitif.
which right now I don't think we have.
Et je pense qu'à l'heure actuelle, nous n'avons pas cet équipement.
But the Japanese have done this,
Mais les Japonais ont fait ça
and they found that people do give off light
et ils ont découvert, ils se sont aperçus que les gens effectivement produisent de la
in a
lumière
completely dark room.
dans une pièce complètement obscure.
And they found that if you were sick,
Et ils ont découvert que quand vous êtes malade,
that part of your body had less light.
que cette partie-là de votre corps a moins de lumière et met moins de lumière.
They found that the most light comes off of your
Ils
face.
se sont aperçus que la plus grande partie de la lumière sort de notre visage.
All of this shows
Tout ceci démontre
that the DNA molecule
que la molécule d'ADN
doesn't need to be there.
n'a pas besoin d'être là, d'être présente.
There's something there without the DNA,
Il y a quelque chose là, sans l'ADN,
but it's doing the DNA's job.
mais ça fait le boulot de l'ADN.
It's still holding the light for the
Et
DNA,
ça tient toujours la lumière, ça porte la lumière pour l'ADN,
even though the DNA is gone.
même si l'ADN n'est plus là.
You see how weird this is?
Vous voyez à quel point c'est bizarre?
So what I'm telling you is that this
Allez.
is caused by gravity.
Alors ce que je vous dis, c'est que ceci est provoqué, causé par la gravité.
And gravity works like a fluid.
Et la gravité, ça fonctionne comme un fluide.
Gravity is the energy moving into the earth.
La gravité, c'est cette énergie qui se déplace et qui rentre dans la Terre.
Gravity is pushing us down
Et
right now.
c'est la gravité qui nous pousse vers le bas, là, maintenant.
And it's creating the atoms and molecules in the earth.
Et c'est ça qui crée les atomes et les molécules de la Terre. Hein.
This was proven by Dr. Nassim Haramein.
Et ça a été prouvé par le docteur Nassim
Haramein.
Haramein.
He found that the laws around the nucleus of the atom,
Il a découvert qu'autour du noyau de l'atome,
the laws around the nucleus of the
les
atom,
lois qu'il y a autour du noyau de l'atome
are exactly the same as the laws around a black hole.
sont exactement les mêmes lois qu'on trouve autour d'un trou noir.
All you need to build atoms
Tout
is
ce,
gravity.
tout ce dont vous avez besoin pour fabriquer et construire des atomes, c'est de gravité.
So I would say that solid matter like this stage
Donc je dirais que de la matière solide, comme cette scène par exemple,
is only the least intelligent way
c'est seulement la façon la moins intelligente
that gravity creates matter.
par laquelle la gravité crée la matière.
But as gravity becomes more intelligent,
Mais alors que lorsque la gravité devient plus intelligente,
it creates a force that makes DNA.
elle crée une force qui fait l'ADN.
Let's say that you're looking at a stream of water.
Imaginons que, disons que vous regardez un ruisseau d'eau, un courant d'eau.
Look down in that stream and tell me what you see.
Regardez dans ce courant d'eau et dites-moi ce que vous y voyez.
You see a whole lot of rocks.
Vous voyez beaucoup de rochers, de cailloux.
Is the water magnetically attracted to rocks?
Est-ce que l'eau est attirée de façon magnétique par les rochers,
No.
les cailloux? Non.
How did the rocks get there?
Comment est-ce que ces rochers, ces cailloux se sont retrouvés là?
The rain comes down,
La pluie descend,
the
tombe.
soil dissolves,
La pluie tombe, la terre se dissout, le sol se dissout,
the rocks roll down the hill,
les rochers roulent le long des collines,
and
des
they go to the
pentes,
bottom of the valley.
roulent le long des pentes et se retrouvent en bas de la vallée.
The water pushed the rocks into the stream.
Et l'eau pousse les cailloux et les rochers dans le ruisseau, dans le courant.
So what if the DNA phantom
Et si l'ADN fantôme
is doing that to atoms and molecules?
faisait ça aux atomes et aux molécules,
And it's going to grab one over here and one over here,
il va en attraper un ici, un par-ci, un par-là,
and it's going to spiral them together into DNA.
et que ça allait les rassembler en spirale sous forme d'ADN?
I do believe that is the answer.
Je crois vraiment que c'est ça la réponse.
This same scientist, Peter Garriev,
Les mêmes scientifiques, Peter Garriev,
took seeds from Chernobyl,
a pris des graines qui venaient de Tchernobyl.
and those seeds were dead.
Et ces graines étaient mortes.
And then what happened was
Et ensuite, ce qui s'est passé,
he passes a laser beam
il a passé un rayon laser
through the same kind of seeds,
à travers le même genre de graines,
except these seeds were still alive.
à travers le même genre de graines, mais les autres, elles étaient vivantes.
Now, in conventional science, a seed from Chernobyl is dead forever.
Selon la science conventionnelle, une graine qui vient de Tchernobyl, elle est morte pour toujours.
You're never going to bring that seed back to life.
Vous n'allez jamais ramener cette graine à la vie.
But what if the material inside that seed,
Et si le matériel qui se trouve à l'intérieur de cette graine,
the atoms and molecules,
les atomes et les molécules,
are already pretty close to what seed DNA is supposed to look like?
s'ils étaient déjà près de ce à quoi est censé ressembler l'ADN de cette graine,
What happens if you then beam in light
qu'est-ce qui se produirait si ensuite on envoie un rayon de lumière
that tells those atoms and molecules how to be a seed?
qui va dire à ces atomes et à ces molécules comment il faut faire pour être une graine?
Right? Frankenstein.
On est dans
what
Frankenstein
happens.
là.
He shines the beam into those killed seeds,
Donc il envoie ce rayon, il fait briller ce rayon dans ces graines mortes
and the seeds came back to life.
et les graines sont revenues à la vie.
This again was done 20 years ago.
Ça, je le répète, ça a été fait il y a 20 ans
Nobody talks about it
et personne n'en parle
because it totally changes the laws of biology.
parce que ça change totalement les lois de la biologie.
So what happens if you destroy a rat's pancreas?
Alors qu'est-ce qui se passe si on détruit le pancréas d'un rat?
The rat would have a disease we call diabetes.
Le rat va avoir une maladie qu'on appelle le diabète.
So what Garriev did in this next experiment,
Donc dans cette expérience suivante, ce qu'a fait Garriev,
which was replicated in Moscow, Toronto, and Nizhny Novgorod,
laquelle expérience a été répliquée, a été refaite à Moscou, à Toronto et à Nizhny Novgorod,
is he injected the rats with a toxin that gave them diabetes.
c'est qu'il a injecté aux rats une toxine qui leur a donné le diabète.
And it completely destroys their pancreas. The pancreas is gone.
Une toxine qui a totalement détruit leur pancréas. Le pancréas disparu.
If you just inject the rats and you don't do anything else, they die in 4 to 6 days of diabetes.
Donc si vous envoyez cette toxine dans le rat par injection et qu'il n'y a plus de pancréas et que vous ne faites que ça, le rat est mort en quelques jours.
But then he did the same thing with another group of rats.
Et il meurt en 4 à 6 jours de diabète. Mais après,
He
il a
gave
fait la
them-
même chose avec un autre groupe de rats. Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Non, it's okay.
I got to read it too, you know.
Moi aussi, il faut que je
You
lise.
stand over here, maybe. All right, this is better.
Ah, c'est mieux là pour que je puisse
He
lire
gave,
aussi.
he gave another group of rats the same injection,
Il a fait la même injection à un autre groupe de rats.
except that this time
Sauf que cette fois-ci,
he took out the pancreas and spleen from a rat that was still healthy,
il a enlevé le pancréas et la rate des rats qui étaient toujours en bonne santé.
and he zapped a laser through it.
Et il a envoyé un laser à travers ça, through the
And-
pancreas.
That laser light was then beamed into the rat that was sick.
I want to make sure I understood. He sent light to the pancreas out of the rat and then sent the light. Okay. Donc il a enlevé le pancréas à des rats. Il a envoyé le rayon laser à travers ce pancréas en dehors du rat et ensuite il a renvoyé de la lumière dans le rat.
What happened was that rat's pancreas completely regrew.
Et ce qui s'est passé, c'est que le pancréas de ces rats a complètement poussé à nouveau
In about a week.
en à peu près une semaine.
It's incredible.
Incroyable.
Furthermore,
Encore plus fort.
he could send this healing energy up to 20 kilometers.
Il a été capable d'envoyer cette énergie de guérison jusqu'à 20 km.
And it worked just as well.
Et ça marchait aussi bien, ça a marché aussi bien.
Because if you give that rat the healing code,
Parce que si vous donnez à ce rat le code de la guérison,
then its body says, wait a minute,
alors son corps dit, hé, attends une seconde,
I remember how to build a pancreas.
moi je me souviens très bien comment on construit un pancréas.
Let's make another one.
Allez, on va en faire un autre.
That's what happened.
Et c'est ça qui se passe.
This is obviously, there's nothing in mainstream biology that can do this.
Et ceci, évidemment, ça paraît assez évident, dans la biologie académique et courante, rien n'est capable de faire ça.
In this chart, you see 15 different rats in the experiment.
Dans ce graphique, vous voyez des expériences sur 15, sur 15 rats différents.
On the left-hand side, you see the amount of sugar in their blood.
Sur le côté gauche, vous voyez la quantité de sucre dans leur sang.
Once their pancreas is gone, their sugar goes way up.
Une fois que leur pancréas a disparu, leur sucre monte énormément.
He didn't start to give them the healing treatment until they were just about to die.
Il n'a pas commencé à leur donner, à leur faire il n'a pas commencé le traitement de guérison jusqu'au dernier moment, au moment où ils allaient mourir.
Every single rat in the entire experiment survived,
Tous les rats, chaque rat de tout le groupe sur lequel se produisait l'expérience ont survécu
and every single one of them had a complete healing.
et chacun d'entre eux a eu une guérison complète.
So then that begs the question,
Alors ça soulève la question,
if you donate your organs,
if you don't make your organs,
if you give your organs,
si vous donnez vos
like on your
organes,
driver's license,
si vous donnez vos organes,
and one person gets an organ transplant,
et qu'une personne reçoit une greffe de vos organes,
that's old science.
ça c'est de la science ancienne.
The new science says
C'est de la vieille science. La science nouvelle dit
that in about a week,
qu'en une semaine,
you can grow a whole new organ with light.
vous pouvez reconstruire, recréer, faire pousser un nouvel organe avec de la lumière.
And the scientific proof has been around for 20 years.
Et ça fait 20 ans que les preuves scientifiques sont
Thank
là.
you. That's it. Good night. All right.
Bon, ça y est, ça suffit, merci, bonne journée.
Just teasing. Just teasing.
Non, je plaisante, je plaisante.
Do you need to have a physical organ to do this?
Est-ce qu'on a besoin d'avoir un organe physique pour faire ceci?
Because all we're really talking about is a code of information.
Parce qu'en fait, tout ce dont nous sommes en train de parler, c'est d'un code d'information.
It's a light code.
C'est un code de lumière,
So what if you could capture the entire code
un code lumineux. Et alors, si on pouvait capturer le code tout entier
and reproduce it perfectly?
et le reproduire parfaitement,
Would you even need the organ at all?
est-ce qu'on aurait besoin même d'avoir un organe?
That brings us to Budakovsky,
Et ceci nous amène à Budakovsky.
another Russian scientist.
C'est un autre scientifique russe.
He took a holographic picture of a raspberry.
Il a pris une photo holographique d'une framboise raspberry. Oui, framboise.
Well, a hologram is a perfect replica of the original.
Un hologramme, c'est une réplique parfaite de l'original,
It's three-dimensional.
en 3 dimensions.
So all the light that was in the raspberry plant
Donc, toute la lumière qui était dans le
is going to be
framboisier
reproduced in the hologram.
va être reproduite dans l'hologramme.
Oh, wow.
Waouh!
Thank you.
Sorry. Excuse me.
I didn't know if that was going to translate
Je ne
to
savais
French.
pas comment on pouvait traduire ça en français.
Could be, mon Dieu, something like that. So he zaps the hologram into cancer.
Donc, il envoie en gros l'hologramme dans un cancer.
When a raspberry plant gets cancer, it's called a callus.
Quand un framboisier a un cancer, ça s'appelle un callus.
It looks like this.
Il parle d'un framboisier, pas d'une framboise, et ça ressemble à ça.
If you go to the doctor with a tumor,
Si vous allez chez le médecin avec une tumeur,
what's the doctor going to tell you you have to do?
qu'est-ce que le docteur va vous dire que vous devez absolument faire?
He's going to say, get rid of it, get it out of there.
Et il va vous dire, il faut vous en débarrassez-vous de
We
ça.
need to operate right now.
Il faut opérer tout de suite.
Not true anymore.
Ce n'est plus vrai,
Because all those cells are doing
parce que tout ce que sont en train de faire ces
is they're
cellules,
growing too fast.
c'est simplement qu'elles poussent trop rapidement.
because nobody told them, hey, stop.
Parce que personne ne leur dit, hé, arrête.
But the hologram can tell them to stop.
Mais l'hologramme, lui, il peut leur dire d'arrêter.
And what happens is that it grows into a perfectly normal raspberry
Et ce qui
plant.
se passe à ce moment-là, c'est qu'à ce moment-là, le framboisier se met à pousser et devenir
There's
un
no
framboisier
trace of
parfaitement
cancer.
normal et qui n'a plus aucune trace de cancer.
There's no explanation for this in modern biological science.
Dans la,
Considering that we are on the threshold
si on considère que nous sommes juste sur le seuil
of the single greatest moment of human history,
du
evolve to a higher level of human being.
A new chapter is unfolding now. A new biology is unfolding. And it demonstrates that we are not just chemistry. We are at our real essence, energy. And that we are not separate, but part of an energy field. That the world as it exists is not finished and finite and discrete, full of finalized assemblages, but influenceable, and that we are influencing it at every moment, and that everything is connected and affected by everything at every moment. Fundamentally, we exist only in relationship. We exist within a giant field, and I know Rupert Sheldrake is going to be talking about morphogenetic fields and morphic fields. We exist in a field, and we are part of that field. Everything, the nethermost elements of our being, are just part of this field, part of this relationship. We also exist in an information feedback system. The zero-point field, that entity that I've written about now in these two books, is the center of this, the central matrix of this information field. It is, for anyone who hasn't heard about this before, just the energy dance that goes on between subatomic particles in the universe. All little subatomic particles trade energy just like a little game of tennis. They send energy back and forth constantly. And in that energy exchange, in the less than the blink of an eye, a little virtual particle is created. And that little virtual particle is just a tiny little bit of energy. It's only half a watt's worth, not much to write home about. But if you add up all of these subatomic particles and this entire energy dance going on between all the subatomic particles and all the things in all the universe, you come up with an unfathomable amount of energy, all happening in empty space like some supercharged backdrop. Now, we at our essence are just a little bit of charge doing that kind of energy dance too. And we are part of that energy exchange. So there are two implications here. One, we are all connected, but also that we share information. And the scientists you're going to be hearing about today have come up with so much information to demonstrate that we are not in competition at our essence, but we understand and learn through a very complex information feedback system that grows. The zero-point field is like a giant memory bank of information, of all the information that ever was, and that we understand and learn by a feedback system that goes on at every moment. It goes on at its essence by cooperation. We're finding out even that very serious illnesses like cancer can be cured by finding out the emotional trauma that perhaps caused it. One of the most impressive bits of work that are going on in cancer treatment today is in Germany with a thing called New Medicine. It was developed by a man called Rutgerd Hammer. And Hammer, this is how disgraceful this is. Hammer, who has one of the most successful treatments of cancer in Germany, is in prison right now. That's what goes on with innovators in this area. That's what goes on. Hammer came up with the idea, and we've even had cancer conferences about this and about his work because it is so successful. He discovered that patients, over and over, patients with cancer have suffered some sort of trauma, emotional trauma. So then he began trying to track it and track the trauma and track the cancer, and he found all kinds of correlations. So what his new medicine practitioners are now doing is treating the trauma, and they get rid of the cancer. They get rid of the cancer without surgery, without chemo, without anything, by dealing with the emotional trauma. We know now, because we've measured it, that a thought is a physical energy, an actual something. I always talk about this as a thought is a thing that affects other things. A thought is something that is actually tangible. They've measured it with studies of healers and people undergoing mind over matter, and they found that healers have actually, when holding on to water, have changed the oxygen and hydrogen bonds of water. They've made some sort of alteration. Gary Schwartz has done a lot of study demonstrating that when healers so-called run energy, there is a giant surge of magnetic energy surrounding them. Other people have demonstrated there's an electrical surge around healers. William Tiller has run experiments like this. Elmer Green has run experiments. His famous copper wall experiments have shown that when a healer sends healing, there's this huge surge of electrical energy. It's actually something we can measure. We don't completely understand it yet, but we know that we can measure some consequence from it in a physical way. But the other thing that we understand, and that we'll be talking about this weekend, is that thought doesn't just affect the body of your own body. It also can affect the body of the receiver. There have been some remarkable studies. The Institute of Noetic Sciences carried out one called the so-called love study, where they actually wanted to quantify what happens to the body of the receiver when the sender is sending a loving intention. And so they wired up each person in a bunch of pairs. And these were married couples, one of whom had cancer. So they wired up heart, brain, all kinds of things. They put them in two separate rooms with a monitor, a camera, trained on the person with cancer. And they asked the person, the other partner, the well partner, who was sitting in front of a monitor, to send healing intention every time an image of his spouse or her spouse popped up. And what they discovered is when the person was sending intention, all of their bodily systems began to synchronize or speak to each other in some way. Heart waves, brain waves, skin conduction, that's the circulatory, measuring circulation, respiration, all sorts of things began to start working in parallel.
Hey everyone, Jeremy Bennett here. Let's look at how powerful your mind is. Let's compare your mind to the most sophisticated man-made device ever created, the computer. The average computer can hold about 250,000 pictures, 20,000 songs, and hundreds of full-length videos, nowadays on something the size of my finger. Crazy. But let's compare it to your mind. Your mind can perform an estimated 10 quadrillion operations per second without you even knowing it. Wild. Ask yourself right now, what's making your blood flow throughout your veins with the perfect amount of pressure to keep you alive? What's making your heart beat right now? Are you consciously commanding your heart to beat right now? No. What's maintaining your body core temperature to the perfect degree to keep you alive? What's doing the 6 trillion things to your 60 trillion cells every single second? It's something called your subconscious mind. This is the powerhouse to who you are. Your cat has it, even your puppy has it. But of all the things that your subconscious mind can do, it can't do one thing. And this thing can help you attract good things into your life, or can absolutely demolish your health. What is that one thing it can't do? It can't distinguish between a real event and something you merely think about. Sounds absolutely ridiculous, right? What happens when you have a nightmare? You wake up, your heart is pounding, you're sweating, and you're anxious beyond words. The nightmare existed in your mind. You weren't in any real danger at all. But your mind didn't know that. You physiologically reacted as if the nightmare was actually taking place in reality. There was a study conducted where a doctor hooked up an elite athlete, a professional skier, to a device that measured the athlete's muscle fibers. He told the skier to merely think about skiing down a hill without moving a muscle. The act of thinking about skiing down the hill actually made the same muscle fibers that would have actually fired off if he were to be actually skiing fire off from thoughts. This has been demonstrated time after time with the placebo effect. Group A suffering from a particular illness gets prescribed a pharmaceutical FDA-approved drug specifically designed to treat that illness. Group B suffering from the same illness gets a sugar pill, thinking it's real medication. Both groups get cured. In fact, the New England Journal of Medicine published a study involving two groups suffering from the same degenerative knee disorder. Group A had a surgery designed to scope out the knee and relieve the symptoms of the disorder. Group B, with the permission of the family, had a fake surgery. A placebo surgery, thinking that they had a real surgery. Only 3 small incisions were made in the kneecap, but no real surgery was performed. Both groups reported that the surgery was a success. In fact, researchers are suggesting that a minimum of 1/3 of all medical treatment, including surgery, is due to the belief that the treatment is going to work. The placebo effect. Most people don't realize that there is also something called the nocebo effect. It's practically the opposite of the placebo effect. The mind, instead of curing illness, contributes to illness. That's what a hypochondriac is. Their belief that they're going to develop a disease actually causes them to experience the symptoms of it. Whatever belief you hold in your subconscious mind will become your reality. Bottom line. That's how hypnosis works. The hypnotist implants the idea in the back of their subject's mind, and the subject experiences whatever they hold there. If they hold the belief that there's a spider on their arm, their eyes actually see a spider on their arm. An amazing demonstration occurs when the hypnotist walks towards his subject with his finger extended. He tells the subject that his finger is hot and burning. The hypnotist slowly touches the subject on their arm, and a blister actually forms in the exact place that the finger touched. Now, this is crucial to understand in all healing. Free will, as we understand it, is practically an illusion. In fact, 2 to 4% of the time, you decide what you want to do. You actually make the decision. 96 to 98% of the time, you don't. You're on autopilot. Your subconscious mind controls your decisions 96 to 98% of the time. Don't believe me? Do you like ice cream? If you do, snap your fingers and stop liking it. Do you enjoy watching sports? Snap your fingers and stop enjoying it. You can't. 96 to 98% of the time, everything we crave, desire, and act upon comes from what we hold predominantly in the back of our subconscious minds. Whatever we hold predominantly in the back of our subconscious minds, we are attracted to in life. What happens when you buy a new car? It's the only car you see on the road for the next 2.5 weeks. You saw those cars before you bought your car, but why didn't they stand out to you? Because you didn't own that car yourself. You weren't thinking about it yourself. What you hold in your mind, you're attracted to in life.
When you look in a mirror and see yourself and you see like one person looking back, you are made out of 50 trillion cells. And the cells are the living entities. So when you look at yourself, you're not a single entity, but you are a community of 50 trillion cells. But it's important to understand the word community. Every cell is intelligent, but when they're in a community, they give up their personal intelligence and respond to the central voice. And if the central voice says to die, the cells will die. So the central voice is the mind. What I would talk about is the role of how this mind works. First, there are signals from the environment, the internal and external environment. The signal can be a chemical, like a drug, a hormone, a growth factor, or a signal can be a vibrational wave. the brain, the function of the brain is to perceive the signals and then interpret those signals and then send the information to the cells to control the behavior and the genetics. So the function of the brain is perception, and from that creates the mind. You are made out of protein. So the energy in your body that controls the protein is a vital force. So the new science brings back the old story of vital forces controlling life. So when a signal binds to a protein, what happens to the protein? It moves. It makes behavior. Now, if you are healthy, your behavior is good. But if you have a dis-ease, the behavior is not right. Question: what can cause disease? Either the protein is bad or the signal is bad. Now, look, there are only 3 ways to mess up the signal. 1, trauma. Number 2, toxins. If the chemistry is not good inside the body, the signal cannot be passed through bad chemicals. But the third one is thought, the mind. There is nothing wrong with the body. It's just sending the wrong signal at the wrong time. Every cell in your body has a minus voltage on the inside and positive voltage on the outside. Every live cell is a battery. Every cell has about 1.4 volts, not too much. 50 trillion cells in the body times 1.4 volts is 700 trillion volts of electricity in your body right now. And you can use that energy for healing.
I first met him in the early 80s in a Chinatown of urban Java. He didn't want his real name or address revealed, so we called him DJ for Dynamo Jack. He was only a healer, he said, but he did direct a powerful energy generated from his own body into his patients. Sometimes he used the needles, sometimes just his hands. He called the energy Qi, and it was so strong that he usually needed a grounder to hold his patients' feet. For years we followed him around Java on his healing rounds, pleading to be allowed to film him, but he always refused, saying his powers resulted from a type of meditation with an ancient tradition of secrecy. It was only when my brother Lorne was suffering from a serious eye infection that he finally allowed us to film him in 1987.
It was nothing like any acupuncture I'd ever had. I was getting really powerful electric shocks and couldn't control my movements at all.
Yin yang, positive and negative, you know. And my positive from here and my negative from here. And we meet together, this can get like electricity.
And is this because you're special? You have a special sort of
It's for meditation every day.
It's meditation that does it?
Meditation every day. Like you can touch me, like this. It's nothing, okay? It's my burn. Just like this.
For our sound recordist, it was also a shocker. He then took our newspaper outside and showed us how Qi can also be used to set things on fire. When he heard we'd shown this footage in public, he was very upset and refused all our future efforts to contact him again. As the years passed, we sadly resigned ourselves to never seeing him again. My brother Lorne never did. for by 1997 he was already dead, when I again found myself with DJ, now treating me for an eye problem. But it wasn't this that brought me back. He had tracked me down out of the blue and invited me to tell me a story. He'd just returned from 2 years on a deep meditational journey, alone in the heart of Borneo. Amongst his revelations, he had seen, he said, how history was moving on into great change, and the old wisdom was vanishing. So he'd called me back to film just enough of him to remind us that we all have undreamed-of powers sleeping within us, and that there's nothing special about him except for his training in waking them. Grounding this patient, my cameraman Joe is having to use all his weight to keep contact. She is pushing him away. He seems able to control the amplitude of this chi, like a dimmer switch, and it causes uncontrollable responses in the patients and their grounders.
I can barely keep my hand on you. It wants to fly off. The electricity is so strong.
This mother unwittingly grounds her child. He won't sit still, so she's asked to hold him and grin and bear it. Sometimes signs of this passing energy can be seen in the transmitter too. This chi stuff is only the surface, he says, of the real adventure beneath, in the meditational technique. Projecting chi from the palm of the hand can also be used to resist rifle pellets, he says. First, you learn to distinguish between yin and yang chi in your body. Then how to pool it in your navel chakra. Then how to project it, he says. And it's the proportionate mixture between yin and yang which accounts for different effects, like pulling or pushing objects or igniting them. Then he gets really strange. He says that mastering yin chi is the key to the spirit world. So I invited a small group of scientists back from the United States with measuring equipment to test if DJ was for real. And if so, where might this energy belong on the electromagnetic spectrum? Catherine Cook, CEO of the Mind Science Foundation in Texas. Dr. Roger Nilsson, a Swedish medic and international racing sailor. Dr. Greg Simpson, a physicist from New York's Albert Einstein University, and Andreas Polak, one of DJ's Australian students. The visitors are confident they'll uncover him as a fraud in no time. Greg is the first guinea pig, and he's uncomfortable about showing that he can feel anything at all. Dr. Roger doesn't know what to expect. Out comes the metal detector, like the things they use in airports, to see if he has any concealed metal in his body. Then the voltmeter, to try and measure the chi. But how to get it to work? Where's the ground? What settings? DJ suggests that as his negative is his perineum, and his positive is his navel chakra, perhaps that's where the electrode should be attached. He doesn't stand on his dignity. He's eager to help, but still no readings. They're getting shocks off his arm, and now they're on the right settings, but the needle still isn't moving. DJ says it isn't electricity, it's chi.
It's 1, 2, up, I feel it in my whole body. I feel it at 3, 0.3, I feel it in my legs. Shit,
But suspecting there's some tricky setup on his premises they can't find, they insist we all go to a randomly chosen hotel room several miles away to see if he can light a light bulb with his fingers. It doesn't ground on the wall. So Greg holds and grounds one wire, while DJ pumps chi through the other. The bulbs are LEDs, light-emitting diodes, which ignite in different colors according to the intensity of current.
Yes.
On, off, on.
Brilliant.
Oh, you're blinking.
Raise the temperature of your hands to 200 degrees Fahrenheit. Is that true?
This is just one of the techniques I use. Of course it is true.
So what exactly is qi?
Qi 就是 energy.
Although controversial to Western science, qi is fully accepted in Eastern cultures. Master Zhou believes he can channel this invisible force into his hands.
How did you become a master of qi?
气功大师
I do not claim to be a Qigong master. It is others that call me a Qigong master. I simply love to practice my art.
气功师，但是人家都叫我气功大师。
I'd really like to witness some of your qigong firsthand. Could you give me a demonstration?
Yes. Okay. Okay. Ready. Right.
This ought to be cool. Master Zhou just left. He's going to come back and show me a demonstration of how he uses his qi. So, Master Zhou, what do you got going on here? What is that?
It's simply sand mixed with water.
Okay, and what are you going to do with it?
把它抓起来。
By channeling energy into my hands from all around me, I will dry a handful of wet sand right in front of your eyes.
All right. I love to see it. It sounds impossible.
Master Zhou removes some sand to prove that it's wet through. The sand that was wet moments ago seems to be leaving his hands dry. In my search for superhumans, I've seen some weird stuff, but this is truly bizarre.
How did you do that?
因为要把这个
I focused the energy into my hands and turned it into heat.
手上变得热的，
The water simply evaporates.
还要用功夫把它捏成粉。
It looked like the sand was still wet on his hands, so I'm not convinced of his heat-emitting hands. So I've asked him to show me something else. But this time, a scientist will measure exact temperatures. Could we finally see physical proof of qi?
There's visible steam coming off of there. You know, this is a mystery.
Qi Master Zhou claims he can harness the energy all around him and focus it as heat onto conductive material. He claims that this technique can cure all manner of illnesses, even cancer.
气的力量是这个
There is no limit to what harnessing this energy can do.
大的没止境的。
What I've seen so Dr. Satari has brought along a thermal imaging camera so we can find out the exact level of heat we're dealing with.
As we come down to his hands, 91. Then our subject, 91.992.
Well, so far, anything abnormal?
No. What we see is all within normal limits of the human condition.
All right, perfect. Well, let's get started.
Okay.
Within seconds, the temperature begins to rise to over 40 degrees higher than a normal human being should be able to generate, and continues to climb.
And it looks as though something is transferring from his hands, which are fairly normal at 91, to the towel, which is 157.
Peak 170.
And we're seeing steam now coming off.
Unbelievably, the heat becomes so intense that steam begins to rise from the towel.
Yeah, we're seeing steam in like 185, 190 from the towel. I mean, There's no way you're generating that kind of heat from just friction of rubbing your hands together. This is a mystery, Daniel.
Yeah, I'm curious about the solutions on the table.
Well, both solutions are water, though, is that correct?
As he claims they're water, I'll be more of a believer once I can have a little bit more control of that.
Master Joe allows me to replace the water. Now all of the elements, the foil, the paper towel, and the water have been supplied by me.
There are many excellent Qigong masters in the world, and they perform their own healing art. But it is only I that can transmit heat from my hands.
150, 155, peaked at 166.
The heat's still rising, even though I replaced the water personally. Having a peak at 170, 171, 175. And I thought I had it figured out, and when we replace the water, he can still generate heat.
And it's going higher. It's 176, and there's steam coming out of the paper towel now. Now, there's visible steam coming off of there.
Hello.
160, 170.
You got a peak of 183, 184,
Yeah.
185.
185, 190.
Have you ever seen anything like this before?
No.
How would you explain this?
He's a living legend in Nepal. The 15-year-old adolescent was rumored to have spent a year motionless, meditating under this tree, without eating or drinking. And for the next 11 months, he remained rooted in the lotus position. Was he real? Then something incredible happened. In the middle of the night, some pilgrims saw the little Buddha in the middle of a fire. This extraordinary amateur footage clearly shows his monk's robes on fire and the young man apparently impervious to the flames.
Well, scientists have always suspected that up to 90% of the universe, they say, is empty. And this observatory now is showing us that in the space that we once believed was empty, it's not empty. There's a lot of energy in there. The ancient Essenes tell us in their texts 2,500 years ago, very precise language, that every human lives in this earth in 3 worlds at the same time. We live in the world of thought, the world of feeling, and the world of emotion. And their texts actually say to us, when these 3 become one, when the thought and the feeling and the emotion are merged, are married together into a single potent force, then when you say to the mountain, move, the mountain will move. Now, I used to believe that this was a metaphor, and now I have seen in the monasteries of Tibet, and I've seen with the holy and the sacred people in Bolivia and Peru, in the native traditions of the desert Southwest, in the medicineless hospitals in Beijing, China. This is not a metaphor. It is a literal fact. When thought, feeling, and emotion become one, we literally can change the stuff our world is made of. We can rearrange the atoms of matter through the belief waves that emanate from our heart. This modality of prayer, it's called the lost mode of prayer, feeling-based prayer. But it's only a miracle until we understand the science. Then it's no longer a miracle, it becomes a technology. A powerful internal technology. So this film was created in a medicineless hospital in Beijing, China. Medicineless hospital. No medicine hospital. I like that hospital. This film shows a woman who has been diagnosed with a cancer in her bladder, a 3-inch diameter cancer in her bladder, and Western doctors say they can do nothing. They say, we can't help you. So she has gone to a clinic in China where they think differently, and they apply the technology from the ancient wisdom that is the same as the science that we just saw. So what you will see is this. There are 3 practitioners, 3 people trained to feel just the right feeling, the precise, correct feeling in their hearts. They create the feeling as if the woman is already healed. They create the feeling as if the woman is already healed. Now, we will look inside of her body through a sonogram, through ultrasound. We can look into her body and we can watch her cancer disappear in 3 minutes.
Over 8 years, the center has successfully treated more than 180 types of illnesses, including bladder cancer.
看到了没有？就是在这个膀胱，三角球的左侧，和一个压壶，这么一个。发气，各位老师，咱们一块用力量发气。 人就想了一下就彻底散了。你放松，老师在这儿。共情的小了，站住！好，没了，再站住！没了，站住！没了，上，再站住，上，消除上，没了，把长打，没了，好了，没了，好了，哎，不好意思，能看出来1秒，这是您几秒？这边只能这样下来。那个就能看往前走，那个下来，好，没了。
This is 2 minutes, 40 seconds. 2 minutes, 40 seconds. This, on the left-hand side, is the reference tumor. On the right-hand side, the tumor is gone. In the Western way of thinking, modern science says this is a miracle because they do not understand the field that connects everything, and they do not understand the language that speaks to that field. But once we understand, that is no longer a miracle, that is a technology. And you listen to the chant. Wa sa 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 sa. Okay, the word that they are using, wasa, loosely translated, means already happened. It's already done. In their mind and in their heart, they're coming from the place that the healing has already happened.
By different people, of course, different professionals. We have many papers published in peer-reviewed journals with many observations. But again, I don't want to make you boring with graphs, because you know that it's saying if in a book you can find one graph, it diminishes the number of your readers to 20%. But we try to make a bridge between traditional Chinese medicine. We use the notion of meridians. Between Ayurvedic medicine, we use the notion of chakras, and we create the chart of chakras. And classical Western medicine, because we are based on notion of organs, systems. So we try to bridge this all together. Because you know that in your countries, you have thousands of years of wisdom. based on very clever people, and it's proven by thousands of years. Our Western medicine is very young, maybe 200 years only, but still it has tremendous progress. So if we combine this together, if it will be beneficial for both sides. That's what we try to do. And plus, we try to combine science, very strict science, with spirituality. So this is how we make analysis of chakras, and we see parameters of chakras, we see alignment. We have parameters that evaluate the size of chakras, and it's different from other analysis because it allows us to evaluate the inner self of a person, ecological attitude, some spiritual topics, and from this we can detect very interesting features. And of course, as I've told, it's based on traditional Chinese principles. So in China, in Japan, they use it a lot, our analysis. And of course, before we introduced it to medicine, we've done a lot of clinical trials. And it was, for example, a very interesting study done by one of our professors in big university, in big clinic. And they've been comparing readings, energy readings, with all possible classical analysis for more than 500 people. And you see that correlations between two was from 80 to 95%. Plus, it was proven that it's a lot of predictive power for this analysis. So we claim that we have prediction power of this analysis about 80%. That is what we claim. And of course, there are some cases that are not clear, but in many cases, it is very precise. So when doctors start using this, they ask, oh, is it true or not? I always tell them, please don't believe. Take yourself and try. If you don't like, just give it back. And it's interesting that in 18 years of our development, never, ever, it was negative response from people who've been using. So it was better, worse, but still no negative. And as I've told, it is analysis of functional state of mostly autonomic nervous system. And this allows us to give express analysis, express diagnostics of well-being and potential problems. Very important that it's not only analysis, but it's follow-up. For example, now we work in cancer hospitals, and our doctors tell that they are not interested in diagnostics. People are coming there who are having these problems, who are diagnosed with many, many instruments. But let's imagine they have surgery, they have chemotherapy, they have radiation, then they let go. But what else? What will be in a year? What will be in 3 years, in 5 years? It's necessary to make follow-up because we all understand that it is possible to fight this patient, like cancer, for example. But no one knows what will be in time. And we have a notion of survival rate, we have notion of health rate. So with this technology, it's very easy to follow up. We take measurements before, we take measurements in time. And then we have many statistical analysis how we can compare. For example, you see this is initial condition of a person, and you see many holes, many breaks. And this is after treatment, acupuncture treatment. And for treatments like acupuncture, homeopathy, electromagnetic treatment, this is mostly important because it's very difficult to prove that it's efficient. Because it's not just to take your pill and you have headache is gone. It's long-range treatment. It takes time. This is another example, very interesting example. It's by my good friend, Christos Drossinakis. It's a very famous healer. He lives in Germany. He is Greek, but lives in Germany. He has his own school of people, and he's tremendously efficient. I can give you just one example. Mother of my wife was in depression for 15 years. It was clinical depression. And of course, my wife, she's a doctor, she was trying to do everything She created for her beautiful conditions, living conditions, no demands. She was given everything, but she was in depression. 3 sessions of this guy, he's gone. Now she's smiling all the time. She has physical problems, and it's serious physical problems. She may fail, she may broken her hand, but she's smiling. It's only after 3 sessions, and we have many examples. So he's very efficient healer, but it doesn't mean he can do everything. No, not of course. Technology has its own limitation. Every healer has some power, but some limitations as well. But you see, his energy field is very unusual, very specific, and interesting that it is his moment when he's doing his healing process. In normal life, he's absolutely normal, like everybody.
So one of the prevailing motifs here on Shots of Awe is, as human beings, as conscious agents, how do we resolve the inherent tension between wanting to fully realize our potential, to realize ourselves as individuals who stand with dignity, and resist the tug of conformity? How do we avoid succumbing to a zombified trance state of blindly following others in a herd as sheep, as hamsters in a hamster wheel? And, it's funny because I think that the way we resolve that is by taking that plunge, by answering that call that Joseph Campbell talks about. There is no one map for how to live our lives. Reality is just a word, and you're not supposed to use it without quotation marks around it anyway, as Joseph Campbell says. We are all free to create our own reality, but it's only when we are bold enough to decondition our thinking, to transcend what Robert Anton Wilson calls the reality tunnel, right? This linguistic and conceptual and symbolic framework that constructs reality, this animatrix pulled in front of your eyes, blinding you from ecstatic visions of what might be behind those walls. We are larvas who haven't turned ourselves into butterflies yet. And there's that great line by Nietzsche that says, those who were seen dancing were called insane by those who could not hear the music. Never forget the words of Jack Kerouac. The only people for me are the mad ones. Mad to live, mad to talk, mad to be saved, desirous of everything at the same time. Those who never yawn or say a commonplace thing, but burn, burn, burn like yellow Roman candles exploding like spiders across the sky.